Hey Wargamers, today is Saturday, February 13th, and this is what's on the table. So this week was pretty eventful in everything that didn't have to do with painting. I worked some extra hours at work and so on, and didn't get nearly as much done on the table as I wanted to. I did get all of the Vaetier models based, with the exception of 3 of the Koalus. There's a couple little touches I have to do. I kind of got my finger actually stuck to him when I was super gluing him to the base. There's a tiny little piece of paint that flaked off, so I gotta fix that. And I still haven't finished painting his scythe. What I did do though is a lot of assembling, some base coating. So I put together all of the sample models for Shattered Earth that Massive Awesome sent me. So he's actually a 2-part model. I didn't realize this when I first put them together, but this fellow here actually comes off and stands inside, so it's like the dragon's enveloping him. Apparently I'm told the production model is not going to be that way, because it's actually a little bit of a pain in the butt, because he has these sort of like flowy cape things, and that has to actually flow in between 2 pieces of the dragon. And it did make assembly a little bit difficult. So basically when I take him off the peg, or off the cork, I have to kind of slide him up and in and bend some pieces and shimmy it over and then pop him in and then glue it in place. So it's going to be a little bit challenging, might lead to some breakage while I'm putting it together. But so far I'm really loving these sculpts. Let me see if I can get in here. So this is the dragon here. He was in quite a few pieces, and I haven't finished filling the mold lines yet, or rather the gaps. There's really just the gaps where the dragon tail parts go together. The rest is really solid. A little bit around the arms, but nothing you would really notice in a play setting. More of a hobbyist thing. I loved putting this model together. It went together really well. It's all resin, so it super glues quite nicely. So it's a little bit daunting in that this was like a 20-piece miniature, but I mean, super glue on resin sets almost instantly and holds quite well, so I'm not concerned about it in that regard. So I did have one issue where, so these models, this is sort of the leader of that faction, and he's supposed to have this bundle of wires that goes from his spine over to his fist, and they were basically the wrong shape. They kind of came out at a 90-degree angle, so I'm guessing they just cooled wrong off the mold. So it would have been okay if he was holding his arm at a completely, like, across his back instead of across his side. But because of that, they didn't line up, and I tried to bend them using hot water, and it just didn't work. So instead I just rolled out some green stuff and added the ribbons or the cables back in myself. There's a little less detail as a result. I'm going to go back in and just add some sort of like some bundles to bring the wire together that the original detail had. So I haven't done that as of yet, because the green stuff just cured a day or 2 ago. But that's really my only complaint is putting him together. The one thing to watch out for, actually I think it happened on the other one, but there's these sort of long flowy ribbon pieces. I mean, there's a very small piece of resin that connects them to this shoulder piece. Now this is one piece, this sort of like bone sticking out of the shoulder in this, but that little joint, I mean, I put too much pressure on this once and it just like popped off. So this is super glued back in. You can't really tell right now, but if you were working with these Shattered Earth miniatures, just be very careful. And you might even want to paint these separately and glue them on after the fact. Really, like, the detail on these sculpts is amazing. I'm actually a little bit daunted at the prospect of painting these, because I think the faces are the smallest faces I've ever seen, and they have the most detail of any face at that scale I've worked with. So they're going to be a little bit challenging. I did actually have a chat with Shattered Awesome earlier this week. So 2 of the miniatures, the Acolytes, balance on 1 foot, like so. This one I pinned literally into his butt so that he would hold onto the cork and give me something to paint. Because his foot was so small, I couldn't get a pinning drill into it. Okay, camera, come on, focus on this, please. So I brought up the point that that's going to make it really hard to actually secure on a base, and they've already agreed they're going to put these on slot tabs so that they can be attached to a base easier. So that's going to come. These are prototype cast, and I am very happy they've sent me prototypes to work with. It's nice that I can use my experience to provide some feedback, and so I have started painting one of them. Literally just got a couple base coats on. There's really nothing to show you here yet. I am, of course, filming the process, but I am also way behind on editing videos, so I want to get this one done before their Kickstarter finishes. They just launched it this week, I think on Tuesday, and it's already really close to being funding, if it hasn't already. Really happy they're hitting their goals there. But I do want to get at least one painting video done for them prior to the Kickstarter being over. I want to make it clear that they're not paying me to do this in any way. All they've done is send me the models. And it's just, I do like the models, so it's something I'm doing of my own volition, not because I'm being asked to or being paid to. On other notes, I've threw a few lower coats of paint through my airbrush at my Guild Ball team. So I've got just one color down on them basically at this point, plus primers. But they're on their way. I'm hoping to have them done in a week or so. And just because he was ready and I had the airbrush out, I also threw zenithal priming on Branda Castro for my Infinity Nomads. So it's primed black from the bottom, and then gray from the sides, and straight white from the top. And what you get is, you can basically see every detail on the miniature already, just in black and white. And it gives you a nice base to paint over. And if you paint with thin colors, you can actually kind of use this as even your shading on the model already. It's a really quick and easy way to work with the detail that the model natively provides. Two things left is I've also started on a Horus Heresy commission. So there was a little bit of cleanup here I had to do. There was basically a blob of, I'm not sure if it was super glue or a miscast on the coil of the weapon here. And so I just cut that away and filled it with some green stuff. Matching the coil was a little bit challenging. I used the edge of an X-Acto knife, and there was a little bit of the coil left at the top, so I was able to line up with it. It's not a perfect match, but once it's painted, I don't think it's going to matter. And all I've done here is run, aside from primer, 2 colors through the airbrush. So it was tan from the bottom and white from the top. So there's going to be white scars, so that's going to be a good base. The tan gives it a little bit of a warm white feel, which I'm really happy with. And that's going to be accented by either some sepia or light brown washes to kind of bring the shading in a little bit further. So the one other thing I really did, and this was for myself this week, was I wanted to improve my skills with sculpting. So I started just sculpting a small duck character. So this is the armature is made out of just aluminum wire, and then with a coat of green stuff over it just for adhesion and to provide some really basic skeleton details. And the rest of that is a product called Bees Putty. It's not a 2-part material like green stuff or milliput is. It's a single piece, and you have to bake it to get the detail to set. So you have an infinite working time until you've baked it, which means you can work on it a little bit, set it down, come back to it later. But it also means that you can bake a piece once you're happy with it, and you don't have to worry about smudging it with your finger when you're working on something else. So like, for example, this foot is solid. I can hold the model like that, and I'm not going to mess that foot up in any way, shape, or form. Now, you notice he only has one arm and one leg. That's because I started the armature with a single piece of wire, looped up, coiled it for a bit for the body, came up, coiled it again for the head, out for the beak, back to the head, down, and finished with the arm. Mostly probably due to my own inexperience making armatures. I didn't do it with, honestly, because like as I was working on it, this was pivoting for a while until I finished the foot and super glued it down. But I do have here, I've just started armatures for the other foot and the arm. So the arm's going to stick out like that, holding a sword or club or something of that nature. I haven't really decided what the weapon is yet, but I provided just a basis for it. And the second foot's going to be in a bit of a running pose, so you can see it kind of, it's going to come back like so. And you can see I've made basically just a big flat piece for the foot. The reason for that is that I found the Bees Putty doesn't really stick the armature wire very well itself, but it sticks great to green stuff, and green stuff will stick to almost anything. One trick I did use, especially for his foot and his arm here, I forget who shared this tip with me, but if you mix a tiny, tiny bit of plastic cement, so just your regular, plastic model assembly glue, in with your green stuff becomes a little bit thinner and much, much stickier. And it'll basically stick to anything. And by anything, I mean my fingertips are covered in green stuff by the time I was done. But it also was able to go on the wire in very thin sheaths. And then that gave me something more adhesive for the Bees Putty to stick to. So I'm hoping to have him done maybe this week. I'm not 100% sure. This is really, I'm not planning on putting his character in production or anything. The scale's a little bit off. I kind of want him a little bit shorter. Now you compare him, let's say, to an Infinity miniature. He's roughly the same height. This is also fairly tall as Infinity miniatures go, but I mean, he's obviously got like a chibi scale to him. If I compare him to a 40K model, the 40K model is a little bit bigger, but that's also a Space Marine, and he should be bigger. So I actually want to create a custom warband for Frostgrave coming up. So I want to replace the Magic Murder Mice with Magic Murder Mallards, just because, epicduckstudios, right? And so this was sort of my test of that process. I may also, after this, test doing one digitally. I have got some experience in the past doing digital sculpting, more with robotic shapes than organic shapes, but I want to see how that turns out. So I'm going to try both, see what I like better. This right now is about 4 hours of work, give or take. And I mean, he's still got a lot. I mean, he's got no detail at all. Right now, he's not a character. He's like he's barely more than a skeleton as far as making a model goes. He doesn't have any gear on. He's not wearing a hat, and he doesn't have any facial expressions really. I'm not super happy with how the beak turned out, but it's also on the bottom of the model, so I'm not also worried about fixing that for this, being that it's basically a practice piece. I have actually filmed the process of working on this, so I'm hoping that other new sculptors will learn through my failures and my mistakes I've made along the way. You may not notice it, but a lot of times when I'm teaching something, I'm actually doing it on camera for the first time, because what I like to do is capture things as I'm doing them initially, because then I realize if you try to teach something you've done 1,000 times, you forget how hard it was the first time you did it. And you forget the things you did wrong and the mistakes you made and all the little trial and errors that made something work for you. I've always found personally the best time for me to teach is while I'm learning. And so that's why I'm filming things as I learn them. And that way I can best easily describe my own trials and mistakes and so on. Anyway, that's what happened last week. This week, what I want to get done is ideally this Horus Heresy model, because this is a commission. I want it, keep my customer happy. I'm almost done this fellow, but I got a lot of the non-metallic metal done on the grays now. So I basically just have to go back and finish the gold and the base, and then his visor needs some work. It's just flat black at the moment. But he's very close to being done, so I want to finish up the 2 commission pieces, and probably at that point the tutorial for the Shattered Earth Acolyte, and I'll probably pick out 1 Guild Ball model to get done for myself. So that's really my goal for this week, and probably a little bit of sculpting if time permits. And other than that, just editing videos, because I've got probably 15 videos recorded at this point that I haven't had a chance to edit, and I really want to get that done. So that's what's on my table this coming week. Let me know what's on yours, and if there's anything specific you'd like help or advice on. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to do something epic. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you liked that one, why don't you check out some battle reports right over here, or check out more epic hobby content right over here. If you really like what I'm doing and want to support my creative efforts, I really urge you to become one of my supporters on Patreon. You can find out more about that right here. Thanks for watching.